Hi everyone, welcome to Poetology. I'm Dan and this is a video about how to make a collage poem using found papers. Basically, I'm going to use papers that I found on the street. This was before COVID-19, okay? It happened last year in 2019. Basically, whenever I found a paper on the street with a bit of writing on it, I took it and put it in this little plastic sleeve. So I have lots of little notes that people have written and that fell down, and my idea is to use them to make a short kind of poetry project where I use collage to put these words on a background and create a kind of poem for each of them. So today I'm going to show you how I make the first page of that poetry project. My hope is that you will pick up some things and try to put them together in poem forms. So I use found papers that I found on the street. Now, with COVID, I don't think I would just pick things up from the ground and bring them home in the same way that I used to. So I suggest you use other forms of found papers, and you can find things in magazines, you can find things in letters that you've received. Sometimes collage is a great way of recycling things that you feel like holding on to but you don't really need in their present form anymore. So it can be a way of reusing old things in a new and creative way. This collage poem is also a great way to get into poetry if you're not used to writing, because it requires a different set of skills. It's more about seeing the potential that some words have to be rearranged in a new form. It's a good gateway into poetry writing, and it's fun, and it's also visual. So if you're a visual person, this may be a type of poetry that really appeals to you. Here is a picture of the magazines that I've decided to use for the background of this poem, and you can see also the collection of found papers that I picked up. I have decided to focus on the letter. There is one note in all those papers that is actually in letter form, and I find that it has quite a lot of potency. I found it kind of touching to have found a letter that someone intended for someone else. Hopefully it reached its destination before being lost on the street, but I find that this letter form is quite attractive, and I didn't want to cut it into little pieces that I would put in different poem. I decided instead to keep the letter format and keep the same handwriting to make a slightly rearranged piece. And I feel like, especially now with COVID, it has a particular kind of poignancy to use words that were left on the street like that in a new form. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you on the other side. I bought this notebook a few months ago thinking I would do some collage with it, so I put a sticker on the cover and another one on here because I'm thinking of doing a series mostly with found papers that I would title Disposable Spells. So here it's ready to get started. I'll probably add the title later, and today I'll show you the first page of this, but then I'll be going on and doing more of them. So at some later point, if you're interested, I can show you the whole thing. Let's get started. These are the supplies I use for collage. So as you can see, I have a mat. It's, I think, A3 size, and that works with most things. I have a metal ruler, which really helps cut pages out of magazines. In order to cut, I have this little hobby knife with this fairly simple blade, but it works reasonably well. And then I use this glue, and it's been working well. I simply dip the paintbrush directly into it, it's big enough, and then spread it, and then I fill this with water so I can wash the paintbrush. And I also have vinyl gloves because I have very sensitive skin, so I have to avoid touching the glue too much. Not that it's particularly strong, but that's how I do it. I also use scissors, of course, and here I decided to cut out little strips of some darker pictures. I used this art for it, but you won't be able to see it necessarily at the end. So I can put these words on a darker surface, and then I'll put something else in the background, probably text. That would be quite interesting. So I'm trying to contrast different surfaces and different strips of papers so that the poem slash letter, a revised letter, really stands out on this piece. With other pieces I might actually blend words into the background when they're a bit less realistic, but this one's very readable, so I'm going to make it stand out. I've selected the paper that I wanted. I tore out a page. Actually, I'll use the other side of this, but I just wanted to show you how I'm now cutting it down to the dimensions of the other notebook, so that the page is A4 and I have a suitable background for my poetry. And now, having put the background on the notebook page, I'm ready to paste these little words to the background so that I can then put the whole thing back onto the notebook page. So I'm going to be doing this right now with my tea, or what's left of it. I'll see you in a minute. Here we go, all the pieces are together. I've added this as some kind of title slash preface to the poem because I feel like it's very straightforward. Like, it's not a super experimental poem, it still almost makes sense, let's say, and I wanted to add a slightly more abstract element because I think the other compositions will be a lot less explicit and a lot more mysterious. So this is going to be the title, and then the poem kind of runs down the page like this. All I have to do is glue everything together and then I'll be done. Here is the finished piece now. John, apologies, Elwood's drawings didn't pop over earlier. Been in a bench seat till 4:30. Meeting Jen. I'll pop down tomorrow. Purcell. I hope you enjoyed this poem, and I really hope that you will give it a try yourself. I'd love to see the results of the pieces you make. If you have an Instagram account or something and you post some of them, please let me know. I'd love to see it. I just wanted to add a few things about collage in general. I'm really into collage, so if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments and we can do more. Today I'm just going to show quickly like one book about collage that looks very much like it was published in the 90s, and it's got the kind of aesthetic that I used to love when I was a kid. Here you can see that there is a section on found papers, and you can see how different artists have incorporated found papers into their art. I'll show you a bit more. There are so many different ways that you can create new pieces with found papers that you arrange in different ways. This book does not focus on poetry at all, so it's a slightly different process from the one that we've just been through. But it can give you a lot of ideas, especially if you also create visual art. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to support me or to support the more technical aspect of Poetology, I would love to be able to take shots of myself as I make the collage instead of the kind of separate takes that I have to make. I've opened a Ko-fi account, so if you want to support me on Ko-fi, I'll leave the link in the comments down below, and if enough people are into it, then I will develop that aspect of it and post more on Ko-fi as well and upgrade the whole thing. But I'm starting slow and just to see if there's an interest for the kind of thing that I have to offer. So I'll see you again next week with a new video.